It's the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm pleased to have the man, the myth, the legend, John Corabi of the Dead Daisies on the show. How you doing today, John?
I'm all right. Doing pretty good. We're winding down. We've got a couple more shows, get a little break before we go to Europe, but it's been awesome.
Early youth, like growing up in Philadelphia.
You know, to be honest with you, the first 10 or 12 years, man, it was like the Wonder Years TV show. I wasn't a sports guy. I played a little bit of sports, but I was really small. Even when I was in Motley, I was only like, I think 5'8" or 5'9", and I think I weighed 140 pounds, 135 pounds soaking wet. And so I would literally just sit in my room, play my guitar, listen to the Beatles, listen to Zeppelin, David Bowie, and just sit and look at posters, man. And it's like, I want to do that someday, you know, so very simple.
How did you survive the hell your life became after your parents' divorce?
I started to get into a little bit of trouble, but I think music really I just really dove into the guitar. I got a little rambunctious at points. I was just not going to school, and I, was arrested a few times when I was younger, but I had an uncle that kind of took an interest, and he gave me a job and kind of set me on the straight and narrow. But really the guitar, I just wanted to play guitar. I didn't go to school because I'm like, I have no need for this. I want to be a rock star. And, so it was really the guitar kind of pulled me through.
Yeah, that's not Uncle Jack.
Nope.
Okay. Now Uncle Jack was the one that molested your brother and your sisters.
Yes.
Did you ever get retribution?
I wrote the song, and it was very good to know. Like, I wrote the song because he had already done this to my brothers and sisters, and he went to prison for a very short period of time. Then he got out, and he did it again, and my mom found out about it and told me when we were doing the Motley record. That's why I wrote the song. And he went back to prison, and where he basically had a heart attack or cancer or something, and he died in prison. So I'm thank you for that. So that was my retribution.
How did you and your band Angora end up on the LA club scene in 1986?
Johnny D, a very good friend of mine, came out. He was my drummer at the time. He came out to LA for vacation, and he came back, and he was just like, dude, there's people, crazy hair out there. There's like all the clubs, they have original music in it. And he saw Ratt before they came out with their first record. And he was telling me about the scene's amazing out there. We got to go out there. So we all it took us about a year and a half. We all kind of went out one by one. Johnny was supposed to come out, and then he wound up getting a gig in Philadelphia. So this buddy of ours, Robert Iezzi, came out, but it was myself, Jimmy Marciano, Frank Semeka, and Robert Iezzi came out, and we immediately got to work. We found a place to rehearse and write, and then we contacted, I think our first show was at Gazzari's, Michael Fell. I went to him, and he, I was like, yeah, how much you guys pay to, he goes, pay, please. You got to sell tickets. Yeah. And I was like, what? But we said, you know what, how many? 50? All right, cool. So we did 50 tickets. We sold them. And we went from being like the first band on a 3-band bill to the second band to the band. And then we started making money, so it was pretty cool.
Okay, so what were the highlights of your time on the Sunset Boulevard? We
started to get to the point we were selling out pretty much all of the clubs that we played. KNAC did a contest for the best music and new music, and it was called, they did a record called The Son of Pure Rock. We wound up getting on that record. We were actually drawing well, and we wound up being the second placed band for that contest, whatever, and we made it on the record, so that was probably the big thing for us.
How did former Racer X members, guitarist Bruce Boulay and bassist John Alderetti approach you to form the Scream?
It was through our manager, a guy named John Greenberg, and John was working with them, and he was working with me on the, and he was like, their singer isn't working, why don't you, so he kind of talked all of us into working together. Our original drummer was Scott Travis, who went on to Judas Priest, And then Scott did that while we were in the band. He left, and then we wound up getting a guy named Walt Woodward. And Walt came in, we got a record deal shortly after that, and we just started writing for the first record. So it was pretty easy. I was our manager, set it up.
How did Hollywood Records treat you?
Great. Honestly, that band would still be moving on, like still doing stuff. I thought the band was great. But who knew I was going to get a phone call to join one of the biggest bands at the time? Mötley Crüe was one of the biggest bands in the world. Yeah. They had just come off of Feel Good. So it's just one of those things, like the universe works in weird ways, as we were saying earlier. My mom just got diagnosed with cancer. My son was, diabetic. Like all this shit was going on in my personal life. And Motley called, gave me all this money to join their band. And I was able to really just kind of take care of my family for 5 years. My mom passed away, and then Motley said, hey, we're bringing Vince back. So I think the world's got a way of setting everything up in a line for you, you know what I mean? And you just go with it.
What, did Nikki Sixx ever tell you why you?
No. And to be honest with you, I don't know how many people they auditioned or jammed with, but I think the thing that got them was the fact that I played guitar as well. So if I had to say one thing, I'd just go, maybe it was, obviously I sang, they enjoyed my singing, but then I picked up the guitar and they were like, oh, wait, this means he's going to be an extra contributor in the sound and an extra contributor in the writing, so I think that was probably maybe, I don't know.
What does it mean to you to be part of a band that is stable after all these years?
This one's been awesome as far as the talent goes. This is probably the most talented band I've ever been in. The writing, just across the board. We were just talking about it today, the writing process for this band. I've done 3 studio records. We did a live album as well, but the studio records come together so quick for us. It's crazy. Like, we'll all get together. Nobody comes in with finished songs. We just throw riffs on the table and everybody jumps in and we write the stuff. And pretty much every record we've done, we've written it, recorded, mixed it, mastered it, did the artwork, everything in like 5 weeks from having nothing to a finished product. So it's been pretty amazing. So it's awesome.
Do you think that comes out of actually being friends?
We are all friends. We've never worked together. But I've known Doug since he was 15 or 16 years old. And I've known Marco, in that inner circle music business. I've known Marco for 20 years. So there's this bond thing, we have a blast. We're all jokers and goof offs, But everybody's just talented though too, and it just makes it easy. It's pretty cool.
What or who is the greatest love of your life?
I'm just going to go across the board, and I'm just going to say my family. I have 2 kids, I have grandkids, and my wife, and they're very key to keeping somebody like me doing what I do, very stable. My exit of Motley, I found out the hard way. When I was in the band, everybody wanted me to be at the parties. They wanted to hang with me, and then when I was out of the band, it was all gone. And the ones that stuck by me were my family. So at that point, I went, you know what? This is all facade, and everything is real is right there when I get home. So I'll just say my family.
What one life event would you change if you could relive it?
I would not have gotten married to my second wife. That would definitely be a plain and simple, that one out.
What do you think of the phrase, the love of money is the root of all evil?
I agree. The love of money changes everything. See, because when I did get the money from Motley, it didn't really change the way that I thought, because I had never had any my whole life. And I would still not, I'm just the type of person, man, if someone drops a $5 bill or a $20 bill or a $100 bill, I'm going to go out of my way to give it back to them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just that the way you phrase that's good.
What are the pros and cons of the Me Too movement for you?
Totally understand. I don't think anybody should be subject to any sort of harassment in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, it's making everybody, it's making everybody leery about being social and talking like you don't know anymore. Like, the things that used to be, like my mother raised me to like open a car door, open a door, like, if you take a woman out, you should pick up the check, and blah, 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 whatever. And, now there's all this shit is read into it, you know what I mean? Like, and I've had people say to me, like I was, wasn't that long ago, I was in London and these girls were at the gig, and it was a few years back, and I said, hey, we're going back to the hotel, we're going to party. All I meant was we're partying in the hotel bar. And the minute I said it, they were like, well, we're not going to go back and fuck you guys. I go, I never said that.
Yeah.
I was just asking if you wanted to go back and have a drink with us. So fuck off now, whatever. So that was my Me Too moment. But I think it's just making it more difficult for people to talk to each other. Now, if someone says to a chick, or, if someone says to a chick, or even, there's some women in power too, if they go, hey, you want that raise? Lick my ass, then yeah, then you've had a Me Too moment and you should say something to somebody about it. But it's getting a little out of control. I think everything is, though. Everything's getting out of control.
What has been your secret to not becoming a casualty of sex, drugs, and rock and roll?
Listen, I had a lot of the sex and the rock and roll part. The drug thing, I just never had any interest in it. When I was very young, I grew up in Philadelphia, and I watched this guy that I looked up to in my neighborhood. I was in this local candy store. I was playing pinball. I was probably 10 or 11 years old, 12 years old, just really starting to get into guitar. And he was like this hippie dude, walk around, no shoes, played guitar like unbelievable, sang like he knew every Beatles song ever written. And I watched him shoot up and drop dead in front of me. And at that point, I just went, I don't ever want to take that chance. And then being in bands like, the Scream and Motley Crüe and some of the earlier bands that I was in, I watched some friends that were doing coke or meth or whatever, and they were just fucking idiots. And I would just feel like, I don't want any part of this. So I love having a cocktail or 2 or 5, but as far as drugs, I'll smoke a little weed and that's about it. I don't want to know nothing for nothing else.
What advice would you give the younger you?
Read everything before you sign it.
That's a good one. Okay.
And have a lawyer reread it.
What do you think your legacy is right now?
Hopefully my music that I've written, I'm pretty proud of every record that I've done. And my family, my kid. My kid's a great drummer. He's got 2 beautiful granddaughters, and hopefully he'll carry it from there. But I think that's it, my music and my family.
What inspired the lyrics to the songs off the Dead Daisies' new album, Burn It Down, Judgment Day?
It's just life, man, Judgment Day is just about not judging me and not judging other people. Just living your life the best you can and being a good person.
Rise Up.
Rise Up is a political thing. It's that thing again where people are they're cutting each other's throats publicly on Facebook and stuff. And it's just my thing, just saying, hey man, you know what? Don't argue with each other. We all need to bond together and hold everybody in office accountable. And it's just my way of saying, if you're going to start a conversation or a debate with an insult, you've already lost.
Dead and Gone.
Dead and Gone's just about having fun, living your life to the fullest, and let whoever judge you at the end of the day judge you at the end of the day, but don't judge me now because I'm just here to have some fun.
John Corabi, thank you so much for being on the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show with John Corabi of the Dead Daisies signing off.
The Blairing Out Show.